Hi guys, Danielle back, Danielle's Homemade Products. Don't mind my hair. Today is my wash day and wanted to get this recorded first before I jumped in the shower. Excuse me, there's just a couple things I wanted to talk about. June is not really a good month for me. The beginning of June is when I lost my first daughter. I had a second trimester miscarriage. I was 24 weeks when my water broke. Actually, I was 17 and a half weeks when my water broke, I should say. I was able to hold out for about 6 weeks, roughly. And then on June 4th, she was born. She was born at 24 weeks. She did not survive but about a half hour, which was half hour more than they thought she would survive. So it makes June kind of a rough month for me. Now, I do have some happy moments now. This year, just actually a couple days ago, Mom got married. You won't be seeing this until probably about a week or so after she's gotten married, and the videos of her wedding and all that will be posted about a week afterwards as well. So, but she's gotten married, so that's kind of helping to turn my June around. But I wanted to just come on here and I can't get comfortable in this seat, sorry. Just wanted to take a few minutes and kind of talk about miscarriages because it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. I have done a blog post on this going into much more detail, so I will try to remember to link that below in the description box so that you could read that if you want to. But it was really more so my body. After I lost the first baby, and I've actually had 2 second trimester miscarriages. The second one was in January, so that's another rough month for me. But
I was the only one who actually lived. Yeah,
Sky is my miracle baby, and that's what I tell her all the time because she is the one pregnancy that survived. So she is my miracle baby. It looks like you were playing with some makeup too. But I was 22 at the time that I lost the first baby, which, mind you, that would have made her, oh gosh, it's too early to add. She would have been 15. She would have been 15 on June 4th. So it has been quite a few years, and it's a lot easier for me to talk about it now than it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Like I said, I was about roughly between 16 and 17 weeks when my water broke. I did not go into labor on my own. I had to be induced medically, but I was not induced in a hospital setting. And the reason I say that is because my doctor, the hospital I went through was a Catholic hospital. Because the baby still had a heartbeat and I was showing no signs of infection, the hospital considered it an abortion and would not do it. My doctor had gotten special permission to induce me because of my situation with my water being open for 6 weeks.
What does induce mean?
Means help you go into labor.
What is that? How do you do that?
That you'll have to let me talk first. Then no.
Okay.
But when I got there at my scheduled time that the doctor had set up, the hospital refused to do it and sent me home. Now, my doctor was pretty smart. I think he kind of anticipated having some problems with it because he had me fill a prescription for a medication that was known to cause miscarriage. I don't remember, again, this was 15 years ago, what the medication was now, but I want to say it was something for high blood pressure. So he had me taking that. I was scheduled to go in and be induced on a Monday. He had me start taking that Friday so that a possibility I could have gone into labor over the weekend. When I went in on Monday, I was having contractions every once in a while, but nothing steady and nothing that we're picking up on monitors. And because I'm heavy, that's not unusual because this one wasn't picking up on the monitors either.
I look like a devil child.
She did. She had a 3D ultrasound done, and she looked like she had horns. It was bad. And my cigarette went out. Sorry. But because of the issues with the hospital. Sorry, kiddo. Okay. Because of the issues with the hospital, it actually, like I said, my doctor had kind of anticipated an issue. So he had me start taking that on Friday. When they sent me home on Monday, the doctor was not a happy person. Not only that, but the nurses were actually bad-mouthing the doctor in the hallway and didn't realize that my father was standing there and could hear everything they were saying. So my dad, the doctor had come in to check, and he was pretty upset because, again, he had gotten special permission for me to be induced. So the doctor had stepped into my room to let me know that they were giving him problems. And my dad pulled him aside and told him what the nurses were saying. And he was not happy. I actually ended up going into labor on my own. Well, from the meds actually ended up kicking in, and I ended up having her the next day. I think 9 o'clock, my contractions were roughly about 5 minutes apart.
I thought, wait, what? Are you talking about how I was born?
No, I was talking about Kara.
I thought I was, because I think I was born at like 8 o'clock.
You're 8 o'clock at night. But about 9:30 in the morning, 9:45 in the morning, roughly, my contractions were about 5 minutes apart. I called the doctor. He told me, oh, this is your first baby. This, you know, and it's an unusual situation. You're going to take a while, so just relax. Just let it, just relax. You don't need to come in yet.
I don't think you're going to relax.
At 11 o'clock, mind you, at 9, when my contractions were 5 minutes apart, my now ex-husband had gone to work thinking it was going to be later in the day that I was going to be needing to go to the hospital. So he called my father, who happened to be working in the area just in case this situation arose. And my dad came and sat with me. At 11 o'clock, my contractions were pretty well constant, and I was feeling some urge to push. Actually, I was feeling like I had to have a bowel movement, which I have constipation issues. So if I feel like I have to go and I'm having contractions, I was like, no, we need to go to the hospital now. Dad took me to the hospital. Mind you, the whole way to the hospital, which was about a 15-minute ride, I was so trying not to throw up in his vehicle because it was his company truck, and I did not want to puke in it. Stop making faces, Missy. So he got me there, and I managed to wait until he had me in a wheelchair before I started throwing up. And I threw up all the way to the maternity ward.
What's that?
Where you have babies. So at that point, I had to get undressed, get into the gown, and they could not give me any pain medicine or an IV until I was in a gown. So, of course, that was my motivation because I wanted some pain meds. I won't even laugh.
My eyes kind of look black in the screen.
Okay, stop. So, at that point, I was bleeding, so they were trying to hurry and get me on the table. She was born, I believe, roughly about 12 o'clock. I want to say it was, or a little after 12. I've got a video of her book with all her pictures and everything, and I will attach that to this video as well, so it'll probably be a long video. But she was born a little after 12. I barely got on the table before I had to push. I didn't have a choice. I had to push. She was born breech, so it made it a little bit more difficult.
What's that?
She was born butt first.
Wasn't I born
you were, down? Yeah, you were sunny side up, actually. But she was born butt first, so she was breech. She was a little over, I want to say she was like 1.25 pounds, because again, I was only 24 weeks. She was already 20 inches long at 24 weeks, so she would have been a very tall child, or a very long child.
But she was very small. And
I had her so quickly that they did not even have my IVs in. So she was born completely no medication until after she was born. Once she was born, they finally got my IV in at that point, and then gave me a shot of pain meds. Because she was a baby, I was allowed to keep her with me until I was ready to say goodbye. Like I said, until I was ready for her to go be prepared to be buried, because she did not live.
Oh, I thought she was alive.
She lived for 30 minutes, but that was it. And honestly, I didn't know she was alive until they called her time of death. I believe, if I remember correctly, and again, this has been 15 years, I believe my mom was holding her when they finally called her time of death. And honestly, I swore I had seen her mouth move, but I thought that was just my imagination wanting her to be okay, because nobody wants to have go through a labor and delivery and not take a baby home with them. I don't know anybody who would want that or would wish that on their worst enemy. It's not fun. But she did. She stayed in the room with me. I have pictures with family members holding her. I've got pictures of her, her feet held up against mine so that you could see how big, because she had big feet for a baby, at least in my opinion. But she was very small. Like I said, she was only about 1.25 pounds, but she was 20 inches long already. She looked roughly.
She looked like about like this tall.
She looked like a little doll. She looked like I had a little doll in a basket. But like I said, I do have some video footage of my pictures, and I'm going to apologize up front. I don't remember what camera I filmed it with. I filmed it a while ago, but it's taken me a little bit to be able to even make the video, because it's still a hard subject. And like I said, she would have been 15 just a couple weeks ago if she had survived. So
was her birthday a couple weeks ago?
June 4th was her birthday.
You didn't tell me?
Well, sorry.
She's my sister.
She did have a burial. Originally, I had planned, because we knew she wasn't going to survive, and we had not, neither us nor the hospital had anticipated her being born alive. What did you have, kiddo?
Wait, did they have different dads?
Than you?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they were technically my half-sister?
Yes.
Again.
Sorry. But anyway, because she was born alive, the state of Illinois, and we lived in Illinois at the time, required us to have a burial for her. Originally, I had wanted to donate her body to science to help prevent people from going through what I went through. It was very traumatic for all of us involved.
Didn't you put her body in the science of thingy?
Nope, I buried her. Don't you remember going to her seeing her headstone in her grave?
Yeah.
But she is buried. She's actually buried on top of my ex-father-in-law. He had passed away 2 weeks before my water broke. So yeah, it was really traumatic pregnancy to begin with. He passed away a week before my birthday, a week after my birthday to the day my water broke. So it was kind of rough. It was a rough time. So April and June and January are not good months for me. I have some not pleasant memories associated with them.
Luckily, I was born on November 6th. I was actually supposed to be born on November 7th.
Yeah, her due date was the day after. I was so mad. But anyway, she is buried on my father-in-law's chest. She does have a headstone. It says "Playing in God's Garden." Like I said, I've got some pictures of it in the little book that I created for her as a therapy for me. Like kind of like a little mini, I want to say scrapbook, but it's not really a scrapbook. It's like a photo album.
A baby book.
Yeah, kind of like a baby book. But I do have some footage of that, and I'm going to apologize. Like I said, I don't know how the quality of the video is, so I'm going to apologize up front. But I will attach that here. And again, I did do a blog post on it that goes into much more detail. Yes, kiddo, I will talk about yours. Relax. And I will leave that down in the comments below. So I'm going to end this one here so you guys can see the rest of that video. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. And let me know if you've experienced anything along the lines that I have. Thanks. So this is the main sheet, and camera doesn't seem to want to focus. And it doesn't help that Smokey's trying to push my hand to the side, but you can see her little footprints and her little handprints. She was born, I was 24 weeks along when she was born. She was, let me see if I can bring this part in. She was born June 4th, 2002 at 12:02 p.m. She was 12 inches long, 1 pound, 3 1/4 ounces. And here is one of the pictures of her, and I am recording a picture in a book, so I'm sorry if there's any glare. But that is actually one of the little beanie babies that, the TY beanies that you see. That was her little present that day from, I think my mom got that for her. But they did take pictures of her for me. Some of these pictures were also taken by my mom. You can see how at 24 weeks she is a fully formed baby. That's her umbilical cord there in that picture. Sorry, Smokey is pushing me again. You can see how tiny is. Her butt is all bruised. She was born butt first. And I promise you that the book is not crooked. It's the actual picture. It's how I have it laid out in here. And then you can see where they cut the umbilical cord there. She was born butt first. But again, she is 24 weeks along at this point. And she does look like a little doll. And you can see kind of, and I apologize for the glare, if I have my regular camera going so it doesn't have a flash that'll stay on like my phone will. And her little feet, like I can see all her toes are formed. And then there's me with her and holding her. Like I said, she is really tiny. And I don't remember who's holding her in this picture, but some of the pictures I won't show you guys just for the privacy sake of the person who is in it. I don't think that's fair because I don't have their permission to be in it. This is my dad holding her, and my mom, and this is my grandmother holding her. And they were all able to get to... My dad was actually with me when I went into labor, so he was the one who took me to the hospital to have her. And my mom and my grandmother made it in time for her to be born, but just barely. I think my grandmother made it just after she was born. And my mom was there as she was being born. You can see how tiny she is. They were given... Sorry about the sniffing. I've got kind of like a little cold with this weather change here in Indiana. They were giving her little bath, her first bath. And they went ahead and clipped her umbilical cord. And they brought in a little bassinet and blanket for her, and a little teddy bear, I think, is in there. Can't quite tell from the picture, and it's been so long I don't remember anymore. But that's her little bassinet that they brought in for me. And her with the little... Yep, it was a little teddy bear. There's her with the little teddy bear. And wrapped up in a little... They brought her in a little robe. They did weigh her for me. And again, they did the footprints and handprints for me. And here's another picture of that. And here in the little bassinet again. There's a little bit better of a close-up of her face. Her eyes are still closed because, again, I was only 24 weeks. And then her in the little bassinet there. Sorry, Smokey's trying to lay on the little blanket that I believe my mom had gotten for her. And her name is written in, and it's one that my daughter still has in her room. And that's me holding her there. And again there. And then my mom again, and my grandmother. And there's Kara there again. And then the bassinet again. Smokey is trying to lay on the pictures. This is my cousin. And there with the little TY teddy bear again. You can kind of gauge a little bit about how big she really was on those pictures. And this one I'm going to try to zoom in but try to keep it in focus for you. You can see the little bracelet that she's wearing around her wrist is actually my wedding band. That's what the wedding band I was wearing actually at the hospital, because at this point in time I was still married. This was before my divorce. But you can kind of gauge a little bit better how tiny she was. She's actually wearing my wedding band as a little bracelet. And I even made a note of it in there so that I would remember too. Not that that's really ever something that you forget. And then here's a picture you could see of the difference in the size of our feet. My cousin was holding her up for me. And then I was holding her again there. And then in here, for different memories for myself, I've got our hospital bracelets, all of my different ultrasounds from when I first found out I was pregnant to as she got bigger. and bigger, and I do have a copy of and she was born alive. She lived for about 30 minutes. I do have a copy of a birth certificate, though it is stamped deceased, as well as a copy of her death certificate in here as well. And the service that we had for Illinois is where we were living at the time, or where I was living at the time when she was born. And because she was born alive, Illinois does require you to have a burial. So we did get a little bitty casket. She's buried in a cemetery in Illinois. And here is her little gravestone there, and it says her name on it and the date. And she's actually buried with, or on top of the chest of my then father-in-law. And then I just have more information as far as the cost of the burial and everything for that, as well as the music that we played during the service and the memorial, the sheets for the memorial. I'm sorry if this is a little out of focus or a little close up at times. Some of the writing on this, again, this is from 2002, so it's kind of faded and it's not exactly easy to see. But here is another. I'll try to get this to focus in. Those are her handprints. And those were her feet prints. They did at the hospital do those for me because that was the one request I had, besides getting to hold her and see her. And then I just have some more grievance cards or things that people gave me after she was buried. And again, another set of her footprints. And then these are, again, just the different cards that people sent afterwards or even gave me at the service. For her, or after the service was over, that we received in the mail. And I just kind of kept them all in here as kind of like a montage memory to her, because I couldn't really truly do a baby book for her because she didn't survive that long. But we did go ahead and do this in kind of like a memory for her. And like I said, I've got like the sympathy cards. That was a word I couldn't think of. And the different things like that. Now, the second baby that I lost, I don't have much for her. This was her initial sonogram. For this one, for Kara, and I'll talk a little bit more about that too at the beginning of this video. This one I'll put in after I talked about that. But this baby, my cervix dilated 4.5 centimeters. I was about 17 weeks pregnant. And by the time they got me to the hospital to try to close my cervix, my water was leaking, and I'm sure I've gone probably over this already, but so the only thing that I have for her is a little hat. They did tell me it was a girl. And honestly, I don't know what that weight transfers over to in pounds. She was 285 grams. She was born January 14, 2003, so she would have been 13 this coming January. So it's coming up, and then this is just some of the paperwork from her. I did end up having to go in and get an emergency D&C done just because she didn't want to be born. My cervix dilated and my bag was leaking, but she was a little stubborn and didn't want to be born, so I actually gave birth to the placenta and was starting to bleed to death. So they set me down for an emergency D&C in order to save my life, to keep me from bleeding out. But these were the only other ultrasounds I think they did that day, just to see what was going on as far as my cervix goes. But other than that, yeah, the different dilations that I was on my cervix is what those are noted as. But as far as having any other information on her, I did not get to hold her. Because of having to have an emergency D&C done, the shape of her body was not anything they would allow me to see. But Kara, because she was actually, and again, these were both, I did have to go through labor with both of them. But with Kara, she was actually born as one full baby, if that makes any sense. And if it doesn't, please let me know and I'll try to explain it a little bit better. But it's kind of a gruesome topic, and it's really not something that a lot of people want to know about. So if it's something that you're wanting me to explain a little bit more on what I meant by that, please let me know. But again, this was originally done for Kara because of the situation and circumstances surrounding her birth and death. So, all right, well guys, I will chat with you soon.